So I'm back with another review. This is not a book that was in my haul. This is a book that I've owned for a while, but I liked it so much that I decided it needed a YouTube review. It's that good. So the book that I want to review today is The Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson. It's really, really good. This very quickly climbed to probably my top 10 favorite books. I picked it up at the dollar store, believe it or not, a year or two ago, I think. It was $1. Had a neat cover. Gargoyles. I like gargoyles. So I grabbed it, and oh my god, I blew through this book, and then I read it again right after I finished it. It was that good. The Gargoyle has a 3.96 right now on Goodreads. I looked it up, and the reviews seem fairly mixed in there. It's a book that either you really, really love it or you really can't stand it. I'm not sure why. I've read some of the reviews from people who didn't like it. I did not get the same feelings and thoughts that they did, but to each their own. This book is really hard to summarize. It is a first-person perspective, but it also kind of is a split perspective when it comes to Marianne's side of the story and retelling their history. It almost jumps into split perspective. And then there's also some stories outside of that the crazy beautiful woman Marianne tells in between, about a Viking in Iceland and a glassblower in Japan and a metalworker in Italy. It's basically a book of stories within stories within stories, which sounds really weird, but it does flow together beautifully. They're astounding. They seem completely unrelated. Either way, they're still enjoying to read. It's not until you get to the end of the book that you understand what's going on. I liked it. It was very vividly written, but it wasn't so flowery that you just started skimming, trying to get to the point. It was enough to grip you and pull you in without getting bored, which I do quite frequently. Sometimes I don't need 30 different adjectives to describe an object. This was very well done. So it is hard to give an accurate summary. The book jumps around in time and location and characters, and it's not until the very end that they all tie together. So I'm going to have a hard time trying to explain what's going on without giving too much away or without confusing you. It is also really hard to categorize. I would categorize it as an adult contemporary, but it's also a supernatural thriller. It's a love story. It's an adventure story. There's a lot of stuff going on. So for a summary, this is narrated in the first person by a cynical, drug-addicted porn star. So that right there should tell you just a decent amount about this book. This guy drunkenly crashes his car and it catches fire, and he suffers horrific, horrific burns all over his body. So that basically is the opening of the book. It starts with some dark stuff. He spends the majority of this book in the hospital, recovering and dealing with the severity of his burns. He has a plan to commit suicide, and instead he meets this gorgeous, beautiful, generous, if not crazy, woman, and she just comes to his room and starts talking to him, and she claims he is her reincarnated lover from medieval Germany. Yep, starts getting interesting pretty quickly. So this book's kind of gritty, it's kind of dark. If that's not what you're looking for, I don't recommend you read it because it gets worse. It gets a lot worse. This book has a lot of darker content, a lot of darker themes. You know, there's drug addiction and sex addiction and self-hatred going on. There's, throughout the book, the narrator is dealing with morphine addiction and the way it's described is, I don't want to say beautiful, because being addicted to morphine is not beautiful, but it is written so wonderfully. It's very, very easy to empathize and sympathize with the characters. In my opinion, Crazy Gorgeous Lady, Marianne, she would technically, in my opinion, fit the description of a manic pixie dream girl, but I don't care. I still liked her. I enjoyed her character. I think she was very well written for being a manic pixie dream girl. I don't know if that was the intent, but it's how it came across to me. But it was done well. You really like her, and when she's not in scenes, you find yourself starting to crave that character and wonder when she is going to reappear. She plays a really big role in the book, and I think the contrast between the narrator and his feelings and his story and her feelings and her story, there's an interesting juxtaposition between them that makes it so interesting to read. The book also very heavily references Dante's Inferno, which I love. It's very interesting towards the end how that comes into play. I'm not gonna tell you how, but if you read the book, you'll discover it's very, very neat how the author inserted that into the story. I very genuinely enjoyed that part. So it's dark, it's gritty, it's vivid, there's a love story involved, there's some supernatural and religious elements that weigh very heavily throughout the entire book. That's a very big theme. So, and then there's the adventure tale. Like I said, this book very quickly jumped into my, I don't know if it's top 10, top 20, high on the list of books that are my favorite. I keep this book out in my bookshelf. I've read it, I think, since I bought it, I think I've read it 6 times. I don't get tired of it. If you are interested in a grittier, darker tale of maybe love and redemption, this is probably a good book for you. I would not recommend it to younger teenagers. This is pretty intense. But yes, definitely if you are looking for dark and gritty and romance and supernatural and religion and adventure, all tied into one thing with some history and stuff going on and reference to Dante's Inferno, try to pick up The Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson. I think you would enjoy it quite a bit. It would probably be right up your alley. I'm going to be doing more reviews later this week, so stick around. If you have any comments or questions about all the rambling I just did, feel free to leave them below. I will answer them as soon as I can. And I'll try to be more concise than I was in this mess here.